Welcome to our September 1, 2021 board meeting for the Downtown Lexington Management District. The DLP will not be here today. They've had a COVID issue, and I talked to them all last night. Everybody's fine, but out of abundance of precaution, they decided they should not come. Good. They're all quarantining separately, so they sent me all the reports last night and this morning, and I've talked to Terry. So, but he wanted me to apologize, but obviously the smart and safe thing to do. We do have a quorum, as duly noted, so I will call the meeting to order. We will not need a roll call. I think the first item of business in your packet, if you had gotten it or had seen it, was the approval of our board minutes from our July 7th, 2021 meeting. Does anybody have any comments, questions, additions, or amendments to those meetings? Notes? Anybody? We have a motion to approve them. We have a motion by Thomas. We have a second. Second by Cabin. Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Juan, would you give us a financial snapshot to the best of your ability, sir?
I'll be more than happy.
Thank you.
We basically have moved the accounting from the QuickBooks to Apros. Apros is an online system that allows us to put, it really is built for nonprofits. Therefore, we have all of the financials that were sent to you. I presented only July. I don't have August, only because, as Jim knows, we're still trying to fight with the bank as to how to get online access. So normally I get the financial statements between the 1st and the 5th. I reconcile the bank account, and then we basically present as we need the different information. It looks okay. One of the things that I would like to point out is, and let me look in real quickly, is you will see in the system that, in the report that I presented, that the block by block payment looks big, looks like 50 some odd thousand. And that's because we fell behind at some point during the 2020-2021. And we're trying to catch up. So I received those invoices. I am now receiving those invoices on time. And I brought the example that they finally they got me in the right report. So you will see these being paid on a more timely basis. And I apologize, in the transition, we just fell behind.
Jim, that's the one where when you talked to them and we didn't know what was to come,
Yeah.
they kind of agreed to help us, and now we're catching
They
up.
have, because we needed some deferred assistance because I was running low on cash flow. And something else, since we're talking about, and I will talk about block by block in a minute, but we have been paying sales tax since day one, and that is, I take full responsibility. We are a tax exempt entity. We should not be paying tax. Our learned colleague over here, thank God for Juan, has told me that, and so we're working on a refund, but it will come from the state of Kentucky, which means it'll be here whenever my hair falls out. So, but we're working on it. But all the billings we're getting now and going forward do not include a tax component, so it's cheaper. Thank you.
That is correct. We were able to submit the ordinance where DLMD was created. Therefore, they sent it to the legal department, and they realized that we were indeed a tax exempt organization. The process will be a little bit time consuming because they have to request the money back from the state. Once they receive it, then they probably give it to us. But that, as of July, we are not paying taxes anymore. So you will see that the total.
One.
Yes, sir.
So are we about caught up on the block by block?
Yeah, I think we're caught up current now.
We are. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, we are. The
I didn't
invoice
know
that
I didn't know if it made it totally current or not. That's why.
Okay, no, we are caught up. We are up to date, and as of July 31st, we had $105,000, so we're still okay. I just received the report for July. Unfortunately, as you know, we don't get the payments until October, November, December. So at this time, we're operating with cash that we had in reserves or cash that we have in our account from previous years. So yes, these invoices are for the October month, October 31st. So you will see that our total expenditures is $66,398.86. I sent one more report yesterday or the day before, which is a comparison to last year. We're very close to last year, but there's a huge caveat. This year, we have 58,978.32 on the block by block ambassadors. Last year, we only had 25,000 on the right amount. However, by this time last year, we had spent 20,000 on grants. That is not there. We haven't spent a single dollar this year. Therefore, the difference is only $6,000 between July of 2020 and July of 2021. We're pretty much on line to spending things correctly.
And may I ask what we moved from QuickBooks to, and I didn't hear the name of the new accounting system?
Aplos, A-P-L-O-S, Aplos.
Aplos.
Yes, it's an online accounting system.
Thank you.
The DLMD has purchased the 1 year subscription with our discount, and I told them that if we need to, we'll continue doing it. It's pretty easy to do, and if anybody else will need ever access, we have 2 accesses that I can give to the DLMD.
Okay, good. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Any questions of Juan with regard to the financials, our financial position, our cash in the bank, or any payables? Anybody?
Awesome.
Juan, you did a great job. Thank you so much for bringing clarity to a muddy situation that I created. I guess we'll need a motion to approve these financials as submitted. I have a motion. Do I have a second? I have a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Chairman's update. This is going to be kind of a standing placeholder on the agenda going forward for anything that might have occurred since we met last that I can relate to you all. I will tell you what we've done, and you'll see this below. We have activated these committees, the various committees, the marketing, the art committee, and the grants committee. There's also an executive committee. Every one of these committees are charged to meet between the meetings that we have every other month. And I know for a fact that all these 3 committees plus the executive committee meeting did occur before today. We've all met, and the idea is to get the work done at the committee level, have the input, and so the committees can come and report, the chair can report to this board, this group, what they've done, what they recommend, so we'll have a little more structure to it, a little more organization, kind of like the council does with, you all have subcommittees and they come report out, so you don't have to start everything and have a free-for-all of 15 people with ideas. Not that we shouldn't discuss it, we should. I want the discussion, we all need that, but this helps all of us to kind of get more clarity and hopefully a little more logical approach to all these different areas. One update I wanted to give you, and it dovetails into the block by block issue. You all have seen in your own world that employees are getting harder and harder to maintain and retain. We're having that issue with block by block, and I have been dealing with James Wells off and on for the last 2 weeks in Louisville about the issues that we're having with the block by block. As a consequence, they're going to have to increase their hourly rate to retain their good people like David and others who we desperately want to keep at this table and in our city. So as a consequence, they have reconfigured our costs for the following year, and our budget's going to be a little short. It's going to cost us $330,848.97, Juan, going forward. Now this will be effective next year, so that's not going to change today. I think we wanted to do it ahead of time. They're on a calendar year, so this will take effect in January. Yeah. So I just wanted to give you a heads up. So we're going to run a little over on our budget because we had budgeted, I think, if I could read this print, it's any damn smaller. I think we budgeted $302,000. Does that sound right, Juan?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's going to be $330,000. So we're going to be, but we'll have some deferreds. It doesn't start until January. But again, it's every industry's facing this. We're just going to have to, but we want to keep these folks. They're doing a great job for us, and the guy at the table here is the star, and so we want to keep everybody with us. And so I just wanted to give you a heads up that's going to happen. And I also wanted to give you another update.
Tim, just a moment,
yes.
please. As you know, under the IRS rules and all of our nonprofit regulations, we are allowed to do an amendment to the budget that can start on January 1st. So that's a discussion that we can have. I don't know how the city will adjust it, but normally cities have that same ability. And that is a mid-year review of the budget to look at what we've done January through December, and then obviously when we see and know of changes that will occur, make a budget adjustment as opposed to show it on a negative or an over at the end of the year, which doesn't always proceed well.
Kevin, you have any thoughts on that from the city's perspective?
Yeah, one, so what we do is Jim comes over once a year and presents kind of the update and the budget for the next year, and then that gets voted up or down by council, it's always been voted up. This would not be a material enough change
Perfect.
to warrant him having to come back over. This would just be a matter of doing business in its normal
Okay.
course.
Perfect.
But
So
thank
do you need a motion to amend, or you want to do that?
Well, I mean, whatever, I'm gonna defer to Juan. I mean, we have the money, we have extra monies from.
We did.
And so we can dip into those monies to make up for that shortfall. It's just whatever y'all think the best optics
What's
are.
the cleanest accounting
Yeah.
way to do it?
The cleanest accounting is to actually for me to present a revised budget sometime between now and December.
Okay.
Have a motion, look at that, definitely I will have some type of support on that budget, present it to the board will approve it or discuss it. When it's voted and approved upon, then I change in the system as of January what the new amount will be.
And I won't have to come back and get a council approval, you don't think? Okay,
Okay?
all right, let's just
I
do
mean, I'll
that.
look down at Hannah, this is not, it's $30,000, it's not a big,
I mean,
substantial change.
no, it doesn't seem.
Okay, all right, well, if you could do that, that'd be
I
great.
will prepare, once I get all the information, I will
Okay.
prepare, send it to you for review.
Perfect.
And you can present it to the board.
Okay.
Whenever it's, okay, thank you very much.
The only other update I wanted to have before we get into
Just
the
real quick,
committee.
as part of that, maybe if we could have block by block present as well as to why the increases.
Well, I've got it all here, Woodford. I'd be glad to ship it to you. Yeah, I mean, I went through that with James. He's really a good operator, and he gave me basically, we're just taking all of our folks and increasing their hourly pay. But I can certainly
Yeah, I
forward
guess The
that.
question is also, do we need all the folks, or could we step back one or two?
Well, we've actually cut back a few hours. I've done a little bit of both. I mean, I tried to maximize and stretch because I know what you're saying. I mean, I'm in private sector too. And so we've cut back a few hours, trying to keep all of our people, but maybe curtail a bit, at the same time, increase the rate.
Right, okay.
Would the board
It sounds
like?
like you've already gone through.
Well, I know, but it's a great question to ask. You think the board would like to maybe see some of the background to all that, or I'll be
I
glad
think
to.
just the basics.
Okay. I'll get James to put together something for us, and I'll send it around so y'all can have some. I want y'all to be comfortable with what we're doing. I don't want to run this in a vacuum, but it had to be done, and he needed to know because he's about ready to lose people. So you got to get things ahead of schedule. So, but I'll do that. Thank you I'll make a note to pass out. The other thing I wanted to bring to your attention is, and Kevin and Hannah know this better than I, there's a pot of money sitting over across the street, I call it, just sitting over there, I can see it from my window. And it's a lot of money, what, 120 million?
We've only got 60 of it right now, the other 60.
Or in the mail, checks in the
The
mail.
pot's not all that big.
That's it.
Giant sucking sound.
Yeah.
60 million, that's just,
Yeah.
Doesn't even get Dougie's attention, did it?
I almost fell asleep.
But anyway, we have the DLMD, along with DLP, submitted an application for some of those funds, and I want to thank you, Hannah, and I want to thank your legislative aide, Sally. Y'all were instrumental in holding my hand and our hand to help us get that done. The application got in on time. A lot of conversations. We had a lot of meetings, and every time, and a lot of people had a lot of ideas. I'm sure there's a lot of repetition, but we did submit a proposal on behalf of the two organizations, and basically it focused on Tandy Park, Short Street, infrastructure projects, public art projects, and grant programs. Those were the main areas of our focus. And I tell you what I'll do, and I should have done this. I don't think we've sent out, I'll send out a copy of our application to everybody on the board so you'll have it, and I'll make Beverly make sure you all get one, and Kate. It breaks down the areas of which the money we're requesting for different areas, but I think it totaled around 11 million. Now, I realize that's, but if you don't ask, you don't, all you can do is say no. But hopefully we'll get something out of it. But it was well thought out, and actually Terry Sweeney did a great job having people come together. We had folks from the town branch. We had different people all over the place with ideas. So it was a good conversation to have. So, but again, thank you for your help, and I know I bugged you on your trip. But Sally was great. She stayed every step of the way with us, so thank you. And thank her for us, if you would. So,
Jim, if I may,
yes.
Just so people have a sense of, thank you all for putting together a proposal. I was really impressed with all of the work that went into it. And just so that people are aware, we've had about 978 project proposals. So council and the administration will be in the process of sorting through and categorizing, looking for overlaps, and determining our process for what that looks like in terms of culling through all of the proposals. But I'm so impressed with all of the creativity and engagement that even went into this one proposal. A lot of people had to work together to put important ideas out there. And so thank you all for making that happen. I think it was really, really positive, so.
Well, y'all got a lot of work to do. I mean, that's tough to put the priorities off, but I know there's got to be a lot of overlap. I talked to Councilmember Worley in the hall the other day, and he's kind of said that Vice Mayor Case put together a spreadsheet, and so that's great. But anyway, we'll see how it goes. But it was a good exercise for us anyway. So, so the idea would be that every month these committees will come to report out. There's a chair of each committee, and they will report out what they've done the previous 2 months, and you can ask them questions, and hopefully to bring some more structure to our organization. So that's my update. Any other questions on anything before we move on to these committee reports?
I'm new, so I apologize for bringing this up.
No, please.
It is now in the news, the issue with Main Street Baptist, saying being that it's downtown, is something that we would even be aware of, or because that's gonna be maybe a bigger issue for this city.
I saw the sign this morning across the church.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I came into work.
What is it?
We will not move, or we're not to be moved, or something like that. There's a banner stretched. We shall not move.
We will not move.
We will not be.
We will not be moved.
Yeah. The church.
To provide a little bit of context, the administration, the mayor's administration, has been in discussion with Main Street Baptist Church about Town Branch Park and the entrance to the park and the parking for the church. This has been a conversation and a process that has spanned many years, and Main Street Baptist Church came to council chambers last week and again this week to present more information about their perspective on the parking spots, and our legal team in City Hall, as well as the mayor's chief of staff, also presented information about where everybody is in the process of trying to figure out how do we make this park happen, how do we make sure that Main Street Baptist Church has parking, and that's been an ongoing process that was far previous to my tenure on council, but it's a part of the city where the 2nd and 3rd districts meet. So I don't know, Kevin, if you want to add anything on, but.
I think that's, Councilmember, I think that's an excellent summary. One, to answer your question specifically, there's not really a role for this body, at least at this point, I don't see. And it's literally a negotiation between the city because of the viaduct where it came down, Lexington Center because they own the property and the parking lot, the Town Branch Park because they're going to build the park there and take that, and then to a much smaller degree for 16, 17, 18 nights, the university, because they have part of their contract is for parking in that garage. So it's just a matter of everybody coming to an agreement that everybody can move.
And they're technically not in the district anyway, is that correct?
Where are our boundaries there? Do
I don't
they?
think they
I
are.
don't think
Woodford,
they might.
they're not, are they?
That's in addition.
I don't think they are.
And we go as far as, Iowa Lewis.
Oh,
We do?
Because
Well,
we
then they
bring
would
all
be.
the way to Salvation Army.
Yeah.
oh,
Well, then they
So
are.
then they are.
I for some reason didn't think they were. Okay.
But only on the south side of Maine, would that be, because I know 500s are not included in the district.
We go all the way to, we do north and south side of the street, all the way on down to Iowa Lewis.
Yeah, I think so.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions on that topic? Thank you for the updates from everybody. The committee reports will start, and unfortunately, Clay Angelucci, who I put as the chair of the marketing committee, is not here. And so, I guess I'll be giving the marketing committee report. They did meet, and that's a challenging committee. DLP has someone assigned to every committee, and we have a chair of that committee on each one of those committees. And so Clay chairs that for us, and the marketing is Laura. Farnsworth is the DLP rep on that one. And so that area is one that I challenged, and the executive committee challenged Terry the most on during our contract renewal with DLP, because I just didn't think we were getting enough visibility, either in print, on social media, or any other perspective. So they got together and met and spent a great deal of time discussing some ideas, logistics, and it's some interesting statistics came from these minutes that Laura sent me, and I will make sure again that these get sent to everybody, and they should be from now on. It really ought to be in the packets, and they will be. We'll work on getting this done. The newsletter that DLP sends out, they have a newsletter that goes out quarterly, and they have 5,300 subscribers. And so they've agreed to start talking about us some more. I just assumed that was being done, but obviously not enough. But so we're going to give them more specifics to put in those newsletters that go out. But what's really caught my eye was that on the Facebook, and I don't do any of this, you all who know me know this is not my jam, but the Facebook, they've got 10,000 followers, and DLMD has 268. Oh, I do enough math to know that's not good, so I know that's. So they've agreed to try to increase our exposure there, and it goes back to our website, and I have still maintained, and council member, you and I have talked about this, it took forever to get Jake's name removed off the website and put yours on it. It's just things like that, so we're going to try to make a concert, and I've really charged Clay with writing herd on all this stuff. I mean, he's in the private sector like me, and he's downtown. He's very active along a lot of lines, and so I put him in charge of trying to get all these things more focused. Another thing that's interesting, we have about 400 taxpayers within this district, management district. We have a whopping 90 email addresses for those 400 people. We need to have better connectivity with these folks. Thomas, myself, and Clay are going to try to put, because we know a lot of people, and you do too, Woodford. I'm going to lean on you. I need to get the addresses of these emails into a database. Kevin called me a couple of weeks ago, and can you send me the list? It was like Herculean effort to get a list, and it really wasn't the list you were looking for, but it was pretty good. You got what you needed for the time, but we really need at our fingertips an email address of every person that lives in this district that's a taxpayer. There's a lot of, a lot of exempt people, but that's just crazy. So that's one of the things Clay's group's going to work on. We'll try to get more content, more outreach, and we talked about a speakers bureau. And and this came from Mary Quinn, great idea. She does a lot of speaking to a lot of different organizations that visit Lex. So I think we should do the same to get people out and know what the DLMD is. We talked about CPAL, Rotary. Now, I don't really want to go back in front of the council, no disrespect, Hannah, but resident associations we talked about, Thomas, a lot of things that we need to get more visibility somehow, some way. If anybody's got any idea, any groups that you all would like to address, I don't mind, me, I'll get in front of anybody anytime about anything. That's half my problem. But anyway, Speakers Bureau, she was really high on, and that makes a lot of sense. So anyway, those are some next steps that the marketing committee wanted me to relate to you all, and I think we've got to get more visibility somehow, some way. I think David's people do a great job with visibility. The colors, you got our logos everywhere. but we've got to be able to be out there more than we are, so, anyway.
And
Yes,
Fraser,
ma'am.
and that was one of the issues when it came time to have everybody sign a petition again. There were so many people who had no idea what the management district did.
Mhm.
So I think this is an excellent step.
Well, it's a starting point, you know.
It is.
Yeah, we talked about, it's the same conversation I have on the Transylvania Board of Trustees. Best kept secret in the country is Transylvania, you know. We just don't have that, because we're in the shadow of the big giant down the street. It's hard to break through that. But this one, we ought to be able to get some visibility on. So I think everybody's on the same page anyway.
Jim,
Sir?
who keeps that list of names and emails? Is it our list or is it the DLP?
Well, DLP has that list, but I've asked Terry, who's basically then turned to Clay and myself and Thomas to help him populate that list. But I will send it around. Anybody can, I need all the help I can get to do this, because if we can get a list, we'll keep it ourselves too.
That's what I was asking. The
Yeah.
reason I was bringing this up, APROS is a truly non-for-profit fund accounting system with a fundraising component, which means that we have the true ability to keep track of, we call it members or we call it whatever you want to call it, a list very, very, very broad in nature, because we can identify households, we can identify relationships, we can identify and create our own little tags for whatever. So if you have a group that it belongs to a certain district, we can identify them as that district. If they belong to a certain street, we can identify them as a street. So the reason I'm offering this is because we already pay for the system, and I don't use fundraising or marketing part, but I'd be glad to give somebody the access. We have a lot of imports, so if you need that list to be with us, I can make that available
Okay.
for us for as long as we have apples.
Okay.
That's the thing about DLP, you know, and I'm not sure if maybe if we have another account, maybe it's letting them access it. But people come, people go. So once you get the list, managing the list is almost just as hard.
Yeah.
Because the list is always changing too.
Right.
Transfers of property
Sure,
and every,
that's true.
It'll help us at times when, just like I was talking to Harrison and Terry about it, sometimes there are things that we'll do on certain property, we might remove graffiti or we might notify them somebody busted a window or whatever. We don't have a contact for whoever owns that property. And that would help us to let them know that we're taking care of it and watching out for it. If something happens like with the smaller business, like I can contact Mr. D or Ms. Lisa or Mr. Webb, I can let somebody there know what's going on. Half the property, the owners live in Florida or somewhere.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that'll be real helpful to us too.
Okay.
using email is a free way to make contact. versus
Yeah.
A postcard.
We talked about that, yeah.
Stamps.
Yeah, absolutely, you
And
know.
the system has the capability
Yeah.
through a subscription with MailChimp to do emails directly from the system.
We
And
have-
remember,
yeah,
the
yeah.
DLMP owns the subscription. So when I'm gone, I just pass over the password and you guys continue. So that's what I was asking. It has so much capability that I don't use. I use the fund accounting for us, but the subscription, whatever we pay, it includes that robust donor management, or in this case, city management portion that would be good to use.
If
I
we,
agree, and my only comment was that whoever in DLP managing the list, you hate to make them update two lists. So it's easier if they just have one list. I mean,
Yeah.
theirs is probably bigger, but.
oh, yeah, because you got, remember, ours is
Right,
confined to
right.
a certain
But I'm just
gerrymandered area.
saying, so they don't have to key in a change on this program and a key change
Yeah.
on that program.
They could flag it.
But
I
we,
don't care what the system is.
yeah, yeah. But the bottom line is we've got to increase our visibility, so what
Yes.
Beverly just said, it will not occur when we go back again for another extension, like, who are they and what do they do? Wow, you know, so, okay.
And it's a part of that list, it may be interesting to be able to track just internally within the district who actually pays into the DLMD, who's exempt and does not, who's exempt and does, which churches, for example, are allowed contribute, you know, if they wanted to.
Right.
I'm not sure we have that many, but just for our own internal purposes.
No, and that's a great point, because the Lexington Center Corporation contributed, and they
Right.
didn't have to.
Right.
Yeah, that was, so, yeah, that's true.
So there are some churches that contribute?
So,
Are there any churches that contribute?
I think there's one.
Yeah, we've had one.
Which one is that?
I can't remember.
Isn't that church at Beverly that you worked with? that
Is
lit?
it First Presbyterian?
Yeah.
I want to say First Presbyterian.
Yeah.
I
Maybe
think
First
you-
Yeah.
Presbyterian down on, whatever, Mill Street,
Yeah.
across from, yeah.
Because if you look at the
Across
two
from
largest owners of property in the district and downtown, they're churches and government entities. Both are exempt from
Mhm.
paying.
They are, that's
We
right.
got a lot of parking lots too, but owned by churches and government.
Well, and schools.
And schools, yeah.
All the parking garages are exempt. I mean, there's a lot of expensive real estate that's not taxable.
Right.
Not that I'm proposing we tax the garages, don't get me wrong. No, I'm not, Thomas, no. Don't even tell
That's
Gary
just an
Means I said
interesting,
that.
you
Yeah.
know, thing to have in the
Right.
back of your mind.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Would you like the council member to put that in committee? Taxing parking?
No, absolutely not. You will get me run off that board real quickly. That'll be about it. Maybe that's not a bad idea. Maybe I could get run off the board, but oh wow, I can't believe I said that out loud. Anyway, let's move on to the next committee, which is the Art Committee. Thomas, I know I chair that, but would you like to report out for me if you would?
Sure. I think the main thing was the goal to enhance downtown through public art, of course, and invest in art, of course, in the district, which is all we can do. Priorities of 3 installations that include district businesses, investing to support art through the district, where art is limited to support all areas of the district, and installations that provide DLMD the opportunity for media exposure, i.e. signage and everything else. Committee was good. The committee considered several topics that would drive their work over the current year, and Chairman Frazier challenged the committee to consider where the audience of applicants would come from, whether it be the property owners, the tenants, or perhaps DLMD would commission works of art, murals, the artists themselves. They heard suggestions from Kate Savage on potential projects that would enhance downtown artistically, and she mentioned a questionnaire used by the City of Lexington Corridors Commission used to apply for grant funding, and that was sent to us as well. And then, of course, the committee noted that Mayor Gorton's Public Art Commission may be a good opportunity that maybe we can partner together with all this money and do something bigger. We're gonna meet bi-monthly, of course, as Chairman just said, and we'll see how this works. Well, the budget amount is $18,000 for the fiscal year 21-22.
Kate, you want to add anything? Okay, yeah, Kate was nice enough to join us on that committee, and so it's going to be, and Whippert, I know that you were out, but I'd like for, it's a good, robust conversation. It really is.
In a committee like that, you know, maybe there's a way to look at, I know we only extended for what, 5 years?
Mhm.
But a bonding, a number
Mhm.
to do, you know, dramatic art
Thank you.
projects of some sort.
Take care.
Yeah, I keep thinking about the Bean in Chicago or whatever that is, you know.
It is
Up there,
the
it's
Bean.
very iconic that, you know, people go to get their picture with it. I don't know what that might be here, but, or where it would go or whatnot, but my mind always goes back to something.
Oh, I loved a big piece of public art. I mean, I've worn Hannah out talking about it. I mean, but you're right, it just costs a lot of money. And if we
Right.
need, and that bonding capacity may be one way to think about it.
Right.
But yeah, exactly.
Do we have the space downtown for a large project like that? I mean, you can think of Triangle Park, it's kind of the biggest area where you can put a significant piece, but even then, getting to Triangle Park, it probably isn't the safest, you know, if you're trying to drive traffic or tourism to downtown, so, I mean, where could
Maybe a
something like that?
pavilion right there.
Yeah.
Maybe some Phoenix.
Yeah, we've looked at a couple different areas, Dougie, and the thing that Hannah and I discussed at length is if we're gonna try to get the city to access some of those public art, it's gotta be on property they own. So with that kind of, and I know that we've had discussions about John Henry, which is out at Ashland to move it downtown, and Kate and I've talked about it. And there was a location picked out that is, we think, on the city property, but we're not sure if it's state right of way. I don't know exactly where it is, but it's on that area where they,
Right.
close to where the new light's gonna be. You know, where they took the pedway down, that area there, it's that triangle. So, but it's just early discussion, and there's so many, and Kate's right. I mean, we need to go about this in a very holistic way and think about what we want, where we want it. But I would love to have a big statement like that. You know, it would be so cool.
And it could be at the end of this current 5-year renewal, you go back with a 10-year renewal and use something like bonding for a big, something that really can make a
Yeah.
difference
Yeah.
with that. Because 5 years, you really can't bond it a lot.
No, you can't. That's true.
With 10, you probably have a much better
Yeah.
opportunity, but might be a way to sell it for a longer term.
Just for a point of reference, I went in and found out that the bean cost $23 million. And so I thought it would be nice just because it's.
So we can
I
probably
know
get 3
it's-
beans.
I know that you have a thing for that piece. It
No,
would be nice to tie it back to a price.
But I just use it as an example.
I know.
It doesn't have to
but
be
I
a bean, it could be
thought- I
basketball.
thought in the same vein, we might.
Maybe a baby bean. You know, you never, you know.
Baby bean,
Baby
yeah.
bean, you know, that's right. That's right. Oh, man. Well, anyway, but that's the kind of discussions we're gonna have, and I look forward to anybody that has input. Please just shoot me an email, because it's not our ideas, it's everybody's ideas. So the more the better, the more the better. The grants committee, which is normally Taylor's report, has also been given to me to do. Her brother's the one that tested positive, so everybody's kind of hunkered down, but she's doing fine. But she sent me an email late last night, long after I'd gone to bed, that to kind of tell her what they've been doing. And I have a detailed list. I think it might have been in your packet about who got what monies and how much. And so basically, she did a recap for me of the things that we've been doing from the grants committee over the past, since 2020 really. And the grants awarded from the July 2nd, 2020 through August 11th, 2020 are reopening and recovery grants. Jimmy John's was recipient, and Park Boy Properties was also a recipient. And then on the lighting grants, we did Park Boy Properties, which is the Commonwealth Building on Main Street. For those of you, I didn't know what that was, but I know what the Commonwealth Building is. It's the corner of Mill and Main. Yeah, that's that building. They received a grant from us regarding a improvement grant, and then we also did a lighting grant for Langley Properties at Central Bank Building on 300 West Vine. So those are the two things that were done. We have awarded but not yet paid, according to Taylor, a property improvement grant to 115-117 West Short Street for $7,500. The future home of High Knoll Wealth Advisory on the first floor and an Airbnb on the second floor. What building is that, for anybody's reference? Anybody know? 115-117?
That Calvert building?
Oh, the
Yeah.
Calvert building. Oh, there. Okay. Does that give you an idea? It's over there close to the.
It's next to Roulette.
Yeah. I couldn't think of the name. Thank you, Dougie. So that's a grant that's been awarded, but we've not yet funded it. And Lisa's got a picture of it right there. That's right. So, and apparently, according to her social media post we did send out, we've had a few more inquiries and applications with regard to more lighting grants. So we'll keep you posted, but that's a very watered down report. But there is a detailed list of who got what, which is what I asked her to give us, because I don't know where all the money, I'm not on that committee, thank God, but.
I also have the detail.
Good. So did it go out in the packet?
I'm sorry?
Did
She
it-
just sent it out to the grants committee.
Just to the grants committee people?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Again, I think all these things should be shared with everybody, so
Yeah.
you all know where your money's going, or the money we're collecting is going. Okay.
Along those lines with the lighting and all that Beverly and others did for lighting downtown, is that a potential marketing opportunity to have an article and photographs maybe at some point?
I don't know why not.
Get
It
their
goes
leader to do
back to our visibility. Did they talk about
Yeah,
that?
that was
Lighting?
talked about. I love the lighting. To Terry, we brought that up.
Okay.
Yeah. That was one of the things that we should push out there.
Because they're always looking for content, you know.
It'd be easy to do and then just keep pushing it to Facebook or social media like once a month or whatever.
So are you on that committee?
Yeah.
Okay.
Talk to
Is there anything you want to add? Because I'm not, so. on
No, that was.
That's pretty much it,
But
okay.
it has to be brought up, so whether they, no matter if they do it.
Okay. Any other questions on the grants, lighting, recovery, reopening? I mean, we put in a pretty hefty line item in our application we were talking about earlier for that specific thing. I think we asked for 300,000. And what are the strings attached to this, Hannah? You have to get it done by a certain date, spent by a certain date?
Yes, the money has to be allocated by December 31st, 2024, and spent by December 31st, 2026. And there's a really hefty reporting process because they're federal funds, so our finance department has to give reports at certain intervals, and they're pretty detailed. So that's the other part of the funding, is that we have to really closely track it, and it has to be really clear how everything's being spent. But that's the timeline.
And no non-recurring expenses, right?
So, so the idea is that the money would be non-recurring. Right. So that's that 2026 kind of cutoff. I'm sure if there are some projects that become self-sustaining, they would continue, but the idea is not that, okay, well, you get this funding and then would have to dig up more funding from the city, right? We want them to be self-contained, whatever that means in practice. It could be a variety of different things.
The idea on the 300,000, I think that was a number that we asked for in our application, is that the DL&D would put some money in, but the property owner has skin in the game too. That's how this thing works. That's what Beverly's got with these lighting folks. They put in X, we put in X, and so together it's Y. So that's the idea. We all kind of put it in together. So that's the way we could take that $300,000 leverage, and we talked about leveraging it into maybe $1 million. So it just depends. That was the theory behind it anyway.
But the old courthouse lighting really turned out nice. I mean, very, very well done. And then I presume Rupp Arena is going to be lit once it's
I'm
complete.
sure.
Isn't that in there? I thought
Can't imagine
like
it's
blue,
not.
or they change the colors. I mean, it could be really a cool change for downtown to have that lit up.
One of the things that was on the list, and I thought about you, was we talked about our wish list is to bury the utility lines on Short Street. How many times have we talked about that? When everything was all dug up, and I know it's a big number.
It was like
but
4 or
it
5
would've been-
million.
Oh, it'd have been so.
That's it?
Dougie, we need to meet later on about a donation or something, man. You're in a different hemisphere. I don't know.
Kevin has 60.
I know.
Oh, yeah, Kevin.
Oh, I thought you were giving us the more.
Well, we bought 3 beans already, though.
We got 3 beams coming from Woodford. Oh, that's good. That's good. The next item we move into are the security updates, and the mayor's had a couple of meetings. I thought maybe that Kevin, if you could, or Hannah, whoever wants to report out.
We'll do this together. So last month, the mayor, along with Chief Weathers and Divine Karama, who is the head of One Lexington, they had a forum that was it turned out to be more of a community-wide forum about downtown violence. And I thought it was a pretty robust discussion, especially within the time constraints allowed. But it showed us that we need to have more dialogue, and we need to have people share solutions and ideas and their experience and input in terms of downtown violence intervention and prevention. We followed up with that conversation with a smaller group this past week, and I was unable to attend, but I know Woodford, you all helped curate the list, and it was a little bit more focused on business owners and their experiences downtown, their safety needs, and giving feedback to the mayor and Chief Weathers. So Divine was not at that meeting on the panel. And because I was away, I was unable to be there, but I know that several people in this room were there. And my hope is that this would be part of an ongoing dialogue with different groups of people so that we could figure out solutions, provide updates, and share information. And I'd like to add that after the first forum, we had a downtown resident who lives in Park Plaza say, I would really like to start a downtown neighborhood association. So we have some residents, and I was thinking about this when we were talking about the mailing list and continued engagement, people sharing information, and they are going to have this initial downtown neighborhood association, which of course will overlap with several other neighborhood associations just because of how these things work in terms of boundary lines, on Wednesday, September 22nd at the Downtown Arts Center at 6 p.m. And his original interest had to do with the safety forum, but he also realized downtown residents want to be connected to each other. And oftentimes in our neighborhood associations, we have neighborhood resource officers who come and they share information and they give updates. And he thought, you know what, we need to have something like that for our downtown residents. So that is part and parcel with this kind of safety, information sharing, solution seeking dialogue. And our hope is that we would do more of the same. Kevin or anyone else who would like to share information about the most recent meeting.
I'll jump in real quick. I think
Sure.
a lot of the discussion was with all of the public money being spent in downtown and private money, the noise and fighting issues and parking lot congregations. You don't want to scare your customers coming in that want to stay at the Marriott Hotel downtown for fear, to stay downtown. And you want people to go to a concert at Rep Arena or to Town Branch Park and not fear, that they're going to get, hit.
I had a question as far as, do you guys have any sway with the media or anyone? Like if something happens on 6th Street, they immediately say downtown.
That's been going on for years.
We've been talking about that. I was just talking to someone about that yesterday. Yeah, our definition of downtown is very different, it seems, than the Herald Leader's definition of downtown. I've noticed that. And I think that's been brought up to the media.
Part of the problem on that is there is no definition of downtown.
Right.
And years ago, DDA kind of looked at downtown as literally everything inside New Circle Road. Then you've got kind of the DLP more boundary, and then you've got the smaller boundary that would be this group. So there's really not but you're right. I know we've had the conversation, but it kind of viewed everything inside that circle. It is downtown, and I bet Beverly, you've been over there, but.
And the safety
Well,
downtown is not just for out-of-towners coming in, but for people that live outside the New Circle Road. We want them to come in and go to Dudley's to go to dinner, and feel safe.
But just to kind of pick up on what Woodford was saying, so there were about 40 folks there, and it was more of a listening session. That meeting came out of a meeting. Phil Greer and Dudley came down to the office to kind of have a follow-up to the first meeting, and it was decided that this kind of listening session would be a good one. Dougie, you were there too, and I think there were a lot of good ideas. Part of it is, one, for example, is traffic cameras. Well, state law doesn't allow our police department to do something, Brianna, who knows that better than I, if you don't see it, you can't ticket it. And some noise issues at the new condos at Center Point, and making sure people understood that you're not bothering as Lauren said, you're not bothering us when you call us. And the congregating in the parking lot, those kind of things. And at the end, and the council member and I were talking about this the other night, somebody mentioned we need to have more of these kind of engaging kind of conversations. Dougie, you were there, you may.
Yeah, I think, I thought it was a good meeting. I felt like they were definitely listening. I know we still have some challenges downtown. Late at night, I still don't completely agree with the tactics. I mean, the bagging the meters, you can't park on Short Street after 10 p.m. on Friday and Saturday. I don't really, I don't get it. I think I understand what they're trying to do. I don't think it makes sense. And it's confusing for people to come downtown. I mean, we have our live bands, and I think Elixir and a lot of places do from 8 to 11. So if you park on the street at 8 o'clock, you got to get up and move your car at 10. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. And I think a lot of the issues downtown are after, 1 a.m., at least the really bad violence and big fights or whatever. So at 10 o'clock, there's 15, 20 police officers standing on one corner when...
Are they towing those cars at 10 o'clock if they don't move them? Or
They did the first couple weekends. They just ticketed last weekend. And I was under the impression from that meeting that after last weekend, it would kind of go back to normal. But they still bagged the meters last weekend, so I don't know. But anyhow, I think everyone understands the city, the police department is short-staffed, and the budget is tough. So and I know this doesn't have anything to do with this committee, but if we're going to use those resources, we don't need them at 10 p.m. And I understand they're saying if you get them out early, it prevents people from coming downtown. But the appearance is preventing everybody from coming downtown. Because there's so many police officers at 10 o'clock, it's like, I don't think I want to be down here. Something doesn't feel right. So, I just feel like, using those resources later, if they came out at midnight and kind of walked around and did whatever, I think it would be more beneficial than having 15 officers standing on one corner, at 10:30. I think it's a waste of their time to write tickets for people parking on the street. I think it's a waste of time to write tickets for people with open containers. Just tell them, pour it out. That's a lot of people don't know that you can't walk downtown with an open container. It's just not very clear. A lot of cities you can. On Thursdays you can to some extent. So it's just confusing. I just feel like it's a waste of the officer's time to write a ticket for somebody with the open
Maybe
container.
the people that want to come down and patronize the businesses not want to come down, like if their car is going to get towed or they're going to be.
They'll have to move it.
Yeah.
So again, I think it was a good start. Stephen at Elixir, he said they brought in the big lights, like if you're doing construction at night on the highway, lights, and had those on at, I think maybe he said 11 o'clock on Saturday or Friday, or maybe even both nights. And that's just, again, I guess they're trying to prevent something from happening, but it's just, to me, it's overkill, it's uncalled for, it's a bad experience, it's a bad look for a problem that really starts about 1 a.m. I mean, that's...
Because most of the time, once all the bars...
When everybody's
close,
letting out,
everybody's
between
coming out at
1:30
the
and
same time.
2:30, when everybody's just leaving the bars and you have people who have had too much to drink. And that is when the presence needs to be there. That is when you can turn those big lights on and encourage everybody, okay, it's time to go home. But at 11, like you're cutting into everybody's business downtown. And I understand some of that business is not orderly, but a lot of it is. And it just makes it a bad experience for people who want to do business downtown, people who want to come downtown, and it's just completely opposite of what we're trying to accomplish.
They increased the lighting at the surface lots and
The surface slot next to Village of Idiot, across from the parking garage, has increased lighting. I think it has been 100% better than what it was months ago. Just the increase in lights, they do write some tickets. I saw them writing tickets over there Friday or Saturday night, one of the nights I was down there. And there's not as many people hanging out in that parking lot.
Yeah, and Tom Bear was there that most recent meeting too, which I thought was
Some good ideas.
Yeah, this is great. I mean, this is so helpful, even just this type of feedback, because that's why these conversations are so valuable. Maybe the officers or people who are coordinating these efforts, we need to share with them, okay, 12 p.m., 1 a.m., that's when we need to do this, or, you know, hey, we understand the intention, but here's the impact, right? So let's shift some of the tactics. So this is really, really
And
helpful.
I think, you know, I've made relationships, I think, with most of the you know, lieutenants and sergeants that are downtown, and I think their heart's in the right place, but, you know, it's just like, some of the stuff I just don't understand.
Yeah, I have a friend who had, I think like a tree or something in a can, and she got done for open container, and she can't go pick her kids that like go help out in school anymore because it's on her record. So she can't, you know, go in and help in the classroom because, you know, you have to get, so it's kind of like, I understand, I mean, how do you say this person can't do it, this person can't do it, but she was like, she was in the pavilion, and again, she kind of got confused because sometimes you can walk around the open container. Maybe that's just Thursday night because the city has the open, because of Thursday Night Live. I don't know, but anyway, she got done and she's.
Actually, even on Thursday night, it's a very limited area.
Is it?
You can walk around, because we've looked at an entertainment zone, and Louisville does it and has it on 4th Street Live, for example. But the advantage they have is it's a very controlled area. There's only one way in, one way out. We don't have that, and so there are liability issues that our attorneys are not comfortable with the city assuming.
You still wanna,
you know,
they're the people you want downtown. Do you know what I mean? Like, you want this lady downtown.
Yeah, and I don't think that, I'm sorry.
So I know go ahead.
I don't think it needs to be an open container. I'm not suggesting that at all, but, you know, just the time and effort and the resources that it takes to enforce that from the standpoint of writing tickets just doesn't make sense to me. If
You know,
someone is intoxicated and disorderly, that's a completely different scenario.
See, I love sessions like this, and I think it might be helpful, maybe at our even, 2 months now, our next meeting,
November.
to either get the commissioner over here or get the central sector leadership over and just kind of update everybody on what they're doing and hear from them. We're kind of in this, you know, they've been encouraged to be more visible at all hours. So it's a balancing act right now, and they're trying, you know, and I think Lawrence said this that night, they're trying to figure out exactly as they go along what works the best. So they're in that phase, and, you know, I can tell you, the chief is open to suggestions, and the commissioner's open to suggestions. I'm assuming the team is, but those are the two that we hear from the most. So, again, to borrow his phrase from that night, you're not bothering us if you pick up the phone and call us. So I would encourage anybody, you know, you can reach out to the council member, you can reach out to our office, you can reach out to them, because they don't want to be a hindrance. They're trying to figure out what best serves to help make it a safer downtown.
And I think Commander Newman is very much open to suggestions and wants to be creative and wants to do something that's going to work for everyone, that serves the purposes of the businesses, that isn't confusing to patrons. And so Kevin's right, and this proves what, you know, we were just saying. We need to have more of these discussions, and we need updates and check-ins. So if it makes sense for our agenda, and if you all would want, we could see if we could get the Commissioner of Public Safety, Commissioner Armstrong, and/or some of our commanders to come in November, so that we could have some feedback and some dialogue with them. Is that something that would be of interest to people?
I mean, I think that's great, but I also think that something more sooner
Yes.
would be
And
even
maybe
more
for the
appropriate.
businesses, you know, because every business has got a different story depending on where they are. Like
Right.
yours is different than Vinny and Scene,
I
and like.
think
even
there's probably about 10 of us downtown that could sit in a room and just hear what they're doing. We can share what we're doing.
Yeah.
And let them know how what they're doing is affecting what we're doing.
Okay.
Or the business owners like you had at the meeting the first time.
But I think we have to be careful, and I think that's the good thing about the list that Woodford and Dudley helped us develop. The business owners were the bulk of the group that night, but there were several residents that were part of that group too. And if we're going to encourage
Yeah, that's
downtown development where people live, work, and play, we're gonna have to get the residential input as well.
And I think the chief has committed to come to that September 22nd Downtown Neighborhood Association initial meeting. And I also think that Jason Irvin, who is organizing that, he's talked to Thomas, I know, would love for some business owners to come. So, that's kind of a hybrid meeting on September 22nd. So you're right, I think we need a combination of residents and business owners, and we can figure out when we could do that and what would be most effective in terms of feedback and dialogue. Maybe this month, toward the end of the month, given that their meeting is September 22nd, we could organize something else.
Yeah, I mean, and Zoom works great. I mean,
Okay.
getting people in a room.
It can be hard.
It can be difficult with schedules, but the one thing we learned about Zoom is it's pretty easy just to log in for half an hour or whatever to take a meeting. So, I'll continue to communicate with this group, my experiences and what I'm hearing from those around me. That way everybody is kind of in the loop as far as that goes before our next meeting. I'll just send out a little updates. The presence has been good, a lot of my customers, they're happy to see that the presence is downtown. It makes them feel safer. But sometimes the tactics such as the ticketing and towing, and one weekend they just came down and just turned their lights on, and it just made it look like it was a problem, even though nothing was going on at all. There's just some tactics that, again, they're doing a lot of throwing mud at the wall, seeing what works, and so their heart's in the right place, but we just want to be able to provide feedback of how it's impacted.
Yeah.
Woodford,
That's great.
Woodford, Dougie's talking, would it be helpful if maybe before in the next little bit, we got maybe you or somebody from you all shop, Dougie, if you want to be, I don't know, and we could do it by Zoom, and just got that meeting set up with public safety, just so we could have a follow-up to the other meeting and kind of
You want
this
the
is
whole
what we're
list?
seeing, what would be working and what wouldn't.
You want the whole list that was put together, or?
No, I was just
Just
talking
the
about
smaller,
maybe
yeah.
this smaller,
Yeah.
to Dougie's point, the people who have seen the practical aspects of it, pro and con. I don't know if you want somebody from city center.
Could be maybe Barry, the manager.
I mean, so it could be 3, 4, 5 people that we could put together quicker
That's
in the
right.
next few weeks.
Right.
On Zoom, it's so much easier.
I mean, would that be helpful?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think what the biggest issue has been, and we've been slower, and it's fine, some of that crowd we didn't want in anyway. But it shifted from in that parking lot to now it's more over in the pavilion. So it's affecting those businesses more, and particularly late at night. So at 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, there's just 100 people still hanging out when every business is closed at this point. So, to me, it's like at 1:30, 2 a.m., increase that presence. When all the businesses shut down, if you want to flick those lights on, flick them on, and just say, hey, guys, it's time to go home.
Okay.
It'll take a while, but eventually people will understand, hey, we can't hang out here. I mean, that's what happened in the parking lot. It took a while, but now they don't hang out in the parking lot. And it'll take some time, but it'll
Good
move.
person for their, Sean Abbott, and then Horse and Jockey, all those little businesses along there would be great people to.
One of the things about turning the big lights on, it could disturb some of the residential people living on the second and
I'm
third
sure it
floor,
does, yeah.
Or hotel customer,
Well, and
but I see the benefit of the lights, for sure.
Yeah.
I think Sean had a point about, if you could close down the pavilion, and obviously it's just not really possible to do that. And the police response was, even if you put up the no trespassing and the different signage, you still have to have bodies down there to enforce that ordinance. So it's a challenge. I think there's a solution there, and I think they'll figure it out. But we just want to be have a voice to provide our feedback on how each step of the way has impacted our business.
Yes.
You know, the good news is, we've gotten a downtown where everybody wants
They
to
wanna
be.
be.
The bad news is, we've got a downtown where we're trouble. You know,
And I
Well, the weather's gonna help us in the wintertime, I think, a little bit late.
Yeah.
I think, the $60 million and $120 million in resources, we can figure out something to help with that. I mean, downtown is important. I mean, it's growing. You got a lot of, renovations going on and a lot of more housing downtown and with Town Branch and, the convention center. I mean, it will be important for downtown to thrive. People come into town for a conference and there's nothing to do, they're not going to schedule another conference. So we have to invest resources into the safety part and of what we're doing, and understanding that's not in our budget, but it needs to be in somebody's budget.
Well, and you'll remember, that's the thing that came out, the city can do certain things, but private lots are the responsibility. As Lauren said, we don't know who's supposed to be in that lot and who's not supposed to be in that lot. So we can help once somebody tells us, hey, somebody's not supposed to be there, but.
Well, it sounds like we need to get together an online forum in the next couple of weeks with a smaller group, with Commander Newman, maybe with the chief, whomever we can get together. Kevin, if you and I, we could get some dates and send them out, figure out the list. Does that sound like a good plan?
Sounds awesome.
I apologize, I have to leave.
No, that's okay. This has been a great discussion, and I hate to bring it to an end, but I respect everybody's time. The DLP update was nothing that Laura says Thursday Night Live is going great. You hearing good things, Woodford?
I'm hearing good things, I've not been down there.
Okay.
Oh, you're running out of time, Woodford.
Yeah, I hear it's going well. They're very pleased. David, you want to give us a real brief report?
Very brief.
Very brief.
It's going well.
We'd like to hear that.
Only one concern. As far as doing the hours of operation for us, everything is going okay. The only uptick that I've seen, if anything, is I'm coming across more people in businesses' doorways, sleeping, beer cans, they drunk, laid up in their doorway. But I'm here in the morning to get them to move on. Been called some choice words and everything, but other than that, everything is going well.
You all, thank you so much for your time and your conversation. Be safe. We're adjourned. We'll see you in November.